Hey there everyone, Ben Townsend here, and on today's ride we're headed down to Hampshire County, West Virginia to talk to the fiddle player that I learned from, Paul Roomsburg. He's got a tape from his mentor, a mandolin and banjo player by the name of Sloane Staggs we're going to play you a few cuts off of, and we're even going to record you a little live music with help from our friend Steve Ritz. Thanks for joining us on today's ride.
You know that rats won't live in a fiddle player's house. You ever heard that?
No.
There's nothing for them to eat because the fiddler won't work. There was a behavioral class that one of the teachers really liked the music. She wanted to bring, but afraid her students weren't going to behave right. She said it made her feel so bad that on the way over she scolded them to behave. And when they heard the music, they melted. It was the best people ever. They glued themselves. They never heard anything like that. I wish you were here when the Italian exchange students were here. The teacher that came, was with them, and she wanted to speak before they left. And she goes, I don't speak English very well, but I wanted to thank everybody coming, and said, your music comes from your heart. My name's Paul Roomsburg, and we're at a cabin that's located on my farm, and it's where periodically we play music, old-time music mostly, and we have a great time.
How long have you been here?
We've been here, Dad bought the place in 1959, so we've been here a long time. And so we lived in Romney in a house trailer, and he said he wasn't going to raise any boys in town, so he found the place, I think it was 105 acres and a house for $3,500. So that's where we started.
And was that a deal at the time?
At the time, yes. Well, he was only making maybe $4,000 a year, so it was pension then.
Yeah. And Steve?
My name's Steve Ritz, and I live in Hampshire County, and friends with Paul. I've been playing music with Paul probably almost 25 years since I've moved to Hampshire County. I'm originally from Marshall County, West Virginia.
How did you guys get to know one another?
I worked in agriculture, and Paul was a VOAG teacher at Hampshire High. So we were there one day, something about a bee program or honey or something. And
that or the nature trail or something.
Well, I met him at work, and I don't know how we started talking about music, and he invited me to his little Pigtown Fling. So that's where we started. Well, we want to talk about the cabin and just say how it started. And
sure.
I'd love to hear that story.
All right, so we're making apple butter down at my house. We're in a potting shed, where we have it all lit up. We play music for about everything, that happens. So, it was whatever. We bought this place. It was a part of the original place, but we bought it in 96, somewhere in there. Bought this, and we didn't do anything to the house. The house had been abandoned since 1970. So it had been run down. So anyway, long story short, we had a little apple butter and played music. Just didn't feel right. So Luke, which is now my son-in-law, was dating my oldest daughter. And at one point in time, I said, Luke, what are you doing tomorrow? He goes, oh, I don't know what. I said, let's tear the kitchen off the cabin and start working on it, play music there. So we came up, I had a little tractor, tore it all off. The buildings were all dilapidated, started cleaning it up. Musicians around. We started sweeping the floors, tearing up petitions.
you need to say that it's there's a one wood stove and kerosene lanterns, and there's no electricity in the cabin. And this cabin's on a piece of ground that adjoins your original farm.
And there was 5
Very
people
close.
lived in the cabin at one time.
Lived here?
Yes, in the cabin. What you see it right there, right?
Yeah.
They lived here all, and
And what you're saying, there's no electric here now?
No.
at
No,
all.
no.
Yeah, that's something that really I think is pretty special about here. And I remember from the first couple of times I came up here, just having the
Late
lanterns
nights.
and with you guys, cooking some beans or something on the wood stove and cornbread. And
Right.
so one time
when it'd rain. It was awesome.
one time it was snowing. It was, hey, it's snowing out. Oh, okay, let's play another tune. Hey, it's snowing out. Hey, let's play another tune. At the end, We were spinning, pulling. It was like everybody stuck. It was like, oh no.
Well, before that though, Ben, when you heard Paul playing music, we were at the West Virginia State School for the Deaf and the Blind. We were on the grounds. We were it was Hampshire Heritage Days in September, and it was in the early 90s, I think. And Paul and I were playing around a little fire, and we kind of wiggled our way into the reenactors camp. And you stopped, and you were in high school, I think, and we started playing, trading John Prine tunes on the guitar. And you were asking Paul about the music, and then you got all fired up like you were going to take the bluegrass out of your banjo.
Yeah, well,
I remember that. Yeah.
I was never really into this stuff growing up, and
Yeah,
I think this place will change you, man. There's a lot of people whose lives have changed coming through this place.
I remember between the 9th and 10th grade year that the girls, my daughters, we had a big party at the house.
Yeah.
And you guys played the rock and roll music.
Yeah.
We have a stage set up.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. That was like our big break.
Yeah, my brother-in-law brought all the PA equipment, and you guys played. It was we had a big
awesome.
fire.
I still have a couple pictures from that.
Yeah, that was. And then another point in time, one of them said, who was all at the cabin last night? I go, blah, blah. And Ben Townsend, Ben was at the cabin? I go, yeah. So what was he doing there? I said, well, he's learning old-timey music.
Well, you stopped at my house one time when we were playing. I don't know if you were there, but, we're a lot older than you. You were playing. And my daughters were in the basement with their friends. And they all said, why is Ben up there playing music with those old guys?
Yeah, I remember that too.
That's funny, yeah.
So everyone is welcome, and we enjoy sharing the music with people. And we have a lot of people that drop by that don't play, they just want to listen. But, as Paul said, Mr. Staggs never charged him for a lesson. He just played music with them and shared his music. And Paul's been great to share his music with everybody. Paul doesn't give lessons. He said he can't. He's a teacher, but he said he can't teach music.
I can't teach music.
But he invites everyone to come and play, and that's what the cabin is. And it's wonderful when we have professional musicians. But when we had the folks from Scotland and Ireland, they didn't really want to play their music. They wanted to hear ours.
Yeah.
They knew some of it, and I don't know. It's got an appeal. This place.
And they wrote in. We have a little journal, and they wrote in it. And I don't see that till days later, maybe weeks later. And they had something about the cabin. They said they played all the United States, and their last night in the United States at the cabin was the best.
Cool.
Said keep her lit.
Well, shall we play one or two?
Let's play. I tried playing bluegrass banjo. I bought a banjo at local music store, and no, wait a minute. There was a banjo in the window of the local music store, and somebody bought it, and I had found who bought that. They couldn't play it, and I bought it for $60. It's called an old Melodier banjo. Anyway, I bought that. When I brought it home, my dad wanted me to take it back to the guy. I said, Dad, I'd try to play music. Well, anyway, got the old little the music books with the they had a little plastic vinyl record in the back. You tore it out, you put it on your record player, and you tried to play it. And I just couldn't. I mean, I tried the rolls, that sort of thing. There was nobody that played music around that sort of music. It was just really hard. And before that, Dad had bought me a guitar from Town and Country. That was a department store in Cumberland for $14. Well, it came in a cardboard case. All this, it wouldn't tune. It was never going to tune, because that's just the cheap, how they mass produce those. So he said, well, we're not going to buy anything if you can't play that one. So anyway, that's kind of started. The guitar, couldn't play that. Found this banjo, started doing some, in and out rolls, that sort of thing. Didn't have the influence of music stores or anybody else to show me things to sit down and actually play. That's how it happened. Hooked up with a family friend, Sloane Staggs, which lived on the other end of the county. I didn't have any transportation. The family's not going to travel that. What we're going to do, a half hour a week, who's going to set? We had things farm to do. So when I got my license, then I could go over and learn tunes from Sloane Staggs. Well, Mr. Staggs was the local butcher, and he had a meat market, and I was with the ag program. So as a student, I would go over there and help prepare the meat, put wood in the wood stoves, all that sort of thing. And that's how I found him. And I knew he played music. And it was always what I wanted to play. So it never was about Mr. Staggs. It was about what you want to do. What do you want to do, Paul? What do you want to do? Hometown was always, he always made you feel well. Always welcomed you in. Always welcomed you.
Right. I think that translates in what you do here.
But yeah, it was never, Paul, what do you want to play? What do you want to play?
So then what would you say, like, when you would meet somebody like Sloane Staggs or something like that, what do you think his influence specifically was, or where do you think he got it from?
He learned from his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I think his dad, he remembered, there was, when they were building the South Branch Railroad, he said there was a black man that was camping at Vanderlip, worked on the railroad, played the banjo. And Mr. Staggs' father walked from Middle Ridge, whatever, to find him.
Wow.
And they didn't,
what sort of a distance? You think
I don't know. What's from Middle Ridge to Vanderlip? 10 mile?
Maybe 10, yeah.
10 mile from there.
They went to Middle Ridge Waltz.
So what you're listening to here is a tape that Paul recorded of Sloane Staggs in 1978. And we'll get to some more cuts of that, and he'll talk a little bit about that later. But this is the Middle Ridge Waltz that he learned from his dad. That is the song about the area that they're talking about here, that his dad would walk to Vanderlip. And I just thought it'd be nice to include it here to give a little sense of place and a little sense of the sound of the area.
So he would walk there, and I'm not sure what style Mr. Staggs' father played. He didn't play clawhammer. He would play with his fingernails, a 3-finger or maybe a 2-finger style, because Mr. Staggs had his own style of banjo playing. You know, was it a bluegrass style? Was it an old time style? So when I went to Morgantown, I was in between because I didn't really know the difference. I had no idea. When I got to Morgantown, they opened my eyes because there was definite. You know, you were either.
And so would you say that there was one or the other?
He was in the A club or the B club. There wasn't any middle thing. Right.
That's funny.
So right.
That.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's how it kind of happened, and then on a Saturday in March. We went up to several students. I was a teacher then. We went up to do the butchering like I did when I was in high school, and fired the stoves, got everything. And the people I had brought with me were musicians, and the kids in school. So we went in to play a tune, and we played a tune. And Mrs. Staggs always had something to eat and something to drink during the session at some point in time. Mm-hmm. So she came in and says, let's get a bite to eat. And so we stood up, and he looked right at me, and he just finished playing a tune with his granddaughter. He played How Great Thou Art on the mandolin, and she played with him. I think he played maybe on the banjo, plectrum banjo, and she played the mandolin. Anyway, they finished playing that tune. We were going to the kitchen, and we stood up, and he looked around, he started asking me a question, and he passed out and went over, and he fell dead. So that was really wild. We were playing music, and he died.
What age were you? What time?
That was
what year was that?
1981, probably.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
What was that like? I mean,
it was terrible. I mean, it was terrible, but good.
Yeah.
And
good to be there.
When it hit the papers, it said, old time musicians dies while after playing music with a session. Yeah, it was different because I was the teacher, whatever, and everybody was hysterical a little bit, and they were looking for me, and we tried to get him revived, and it wasn't meant to be.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a tough thing.
I'd never heard that story. That's incredible.
But he was a remarkable man, and he was also a preacher. Huh. So when Lisa, my wife, and I decided to get married, he was the preacher. Mm-hmm. So and he brought his banjo, and he played the music, and Sam Herman played the dulcimer, and all my friends came in and had a little music. Cool. I didn't get to play music, but they did.
Yeah, well, one day off.
Yeah, one day off. So, but that's how all that evolved, and but it's been fun stuff. Let's put another one on that tape there. All right, what do you want? Let's see, good old Blackberry Blossom. That's a good one. That'll make your fingers work. That's a good one. That is a good one. I told you about the recording. I probably borrowed that from my mom and taught the second grade, and the educational recorder that she played for a class. And some of the tapes, maybe were she didn't use or whatever, so we couldn't get to sort of buy cassette tapes. I'd record over those. So every little bit, you play it on all once, here comes some instructional thing, and he'd be playing again. Yeah, and you'll hear that probably on
this tape. Okay.
Could be, but that was all.
More accurate, more universal too. It's good for our economy, our country, and for you. Now there's the meter, it's a little more than a yard. You think about it that way, it's really not so hard. The leader, now please don't sell it short. It works out fine if you keep in mind it's a little more than a...
What's that one called? Never named it.
yet.
No, I haven't named
I
it.
knew Mr. Staggs, but I worked with his son, Jerry. And
Yeah.
Jerry's an excellent bluegrass banjo player, the Scruggs style. But Jerry referred to the music that his dad played and Paul played as mountain music. That's how he differentiated it from bluegrass.
Probably when I really first heard old time music was probably in 75, 76, and that's
Okay.
when it magically hit me. It was because it was so good, and we were so close, and I was needing something. So you know what? And there's no rules to it, and sometimes the music is not as polished as other times, but that's a part of it. Mr. Staggs, bless his heart, he never was critical of anything. It was always positive. So it's about the music.
That's cool.
It's about the music. So, I like bluegrass. I got relatives in that, lots of them.
Yeah.
But the old timey, I don't know, I just connected because maybe I was born old. I mean, I like to trap. We did the tan hides, made shoelaces, made brooms, all that's hippie stuff.
That kind of connected.
And it
with
connected, yeah. And
How about one that is great that you guys play here that I don't hear a lot of other places is that Bonaparte Crossing the Rhine.
let's do that one.
We did that on Joe Dobbs's show.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, kind of like the first one, wasn't it?
I think.
So I'm doing this podcast portable, and I'm wondering who would you like to hear in a similar situation, and why?
Well, I think of West Virginia musicians, and I don't know all of them, but just one guy comes to mind is Todd Burge. I mean, he was a guy, young guy, making his living in music, and he's from West Virginia, and he plays a lot of different styles, but he would be an interesting person. I would think that people would want to hear about. Not all the diversity of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
What and it may be hard to find because you'd probably have to take music to trigger something in their mind, is to a nursing home, play a couple tunes, and these ladies and men would say, I remember a song back, and then they'd start singing that or whatever. Bring it, because it's going to be lost. And some of those people's, their minds are gone, but when you start playing music, they revert back and you remember those things. But if you could figure out, how to target, nursing homes, that's, hey, there's a singer here, there's, somebody that plays piano and their stories. That would be really cool, because I've always searched, bluegrass people are always trying to write new songs.
Yeah.
Old time, we're digging to the past.
Digging further in. Yeah.
We're going the other way.
So we've come to the end here of my interview with Paul and Steve. I want to go out reading a few quotes from the guest log that Paul had mentioned earlier in the program. The first comes from Lisa Elmaleh, who actually was up here photographing with me on this trip. You can see her photographs and get an idea of what this cabin looks like on our website. But on her first trip up here, August 16th, 2013, she said, "Dear cabin guys and gals, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you and photograph you and play with you all. This has been a great visit, and I can't wait to see you all again. Thank you for the good eats and the warm shelter. Much love, Lisa Elmaleh." And our final quote of the day comes from some Eastern Panhandle, Shepherdstown area friends, Mike and Mary Ellen, Stephanie Cannell, and Danny Moore, and they said, "Best day of my life. Thanks for so kindly opening your cabin to us. So warm in here. What a beautiful time with beautiful music." I want to take the time to thank Paul and Steve for opening the cabin up to us, and I hope y'all out there in Listener Land had a beautiful time and heard some beautiful music as well. I hope you'll join me on the next ride down to Marlinson, West Virginia, where I'll be interviewing Mike and Tim Bing, along with John Blizzard and some others, about the Allegheny Echoes music camp they host down there. My name's Ben Townsend, and I've been your host here. I just want to thank you for coming along on today's ride.
10 cents you go in and watch movies. Always the Little Rascals.